You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
The opinions of the individuals during this broadcast are their own and may not be the opinions of their group or other organizations they may be involved with. All medical advice during our broadcast is not a medical opinion and should be checked with your medical physician.
Oh yeah, baby, that's lovely.
Good morning and welcome to Psychedelics and Cannabis Educational News, your Psychedelics and Cannabis news source. Good morning, Rev Kelly. How you doing today?
Good morning and happy first day of winter if you live in our area. Right? I'm looking at my window and all of the rooftops are covered in snow. I cannot believe it. I was not expecting the snow. Were you?
Yeah, I was.
you know?
Today and tomorrow, there's little chances of some snow. Nothing that's really going to accumulate. It's not sticking around.
I know, but not good if you're not expecting it and you want to take your children for Halloween.
Or maybe some people might think it's not good if you still got a cannabis plant in the ground.
Right. So beware of that.
Take a look at my Facebook wall. You'll see my frosty nugs.
Oh no. Might be time to pull that up, Al.
I think so.
Yeah.
You're looking sort of festive today.
I am a pumpkin. Halloween. Happy Halloween. All Hallows Eve. Today is the day that the dead walk or something. Like the day before the 31st is the day that you're supposed to go through graveyards and use Ouija boards and stuff. I will not be doing that. I saw The Exorcist. I've been warned.
when we were younger, it was called Devil's Night.
Devil's Night.
Yes.
The night to run amok. Right?
Correct.
I know.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I won't say what happened.
I know.
I'll take the fifth.
Tell us your stories. No.
No. But what stories we should hear is some cannabis news stories. So why don't we get at her?
Yeah.
All right. First story up. Stratcan. Organogram says Jolt's coming back to several provincial markets after Health Canada considers initial classification decision on the product to be sold.
Right. It's the New Brunswick producer that has had its Jolts lozenges taken off shelves earlier this year. And they said again that they're offering the ingestible extract product in several provincial markets.
The move comes after a federal court ruled in August that Health Canada's decision on the ingestible extracts was in part due to it including additional factors in its decision-making process that Organogram was not provided an opportunity to respond to.
Now, the judgment posted on August 8th states that Organogram's application for judicial review had been granted and that the matter was then sent back to Health Canada for redetermination, taking the judge's reasons into consideration.
Organogram now says that Health Canada has accepted the judge's ruling and that its initial ruling on Jolts being out of compliance is void. On August the 8th, the federal court ruled in Organogram's favor by finding that Health Canada had breached its duty of procedural fairness in rendering its classification decision on Jolts. The court ordered Health Canada to make a redetermination. A representative of Organogram tells Stratcan via email.
Health Canada has acknowledged that it accepts the decision of the court and that it considers its initial classification decision on Jolts to be void. As such, pending the final redetermination by Health Canada, Organogram has reinstated the commercialization of Jolts.
Organogram remains of the view that Edison Jolt are properly classified as a cannabis extract. The products, the spokesperson says, are sold in New Brunswick, and Organogram expects to Jolts be in retail stores in Manitoba, Saskatchewan, and Ontario soon. You got to wonder how much this is, some publicity.
Well, exactly. Think about it.
But I had never heard of it until all this stuff came along.
Remember they had gum and they had lozenges and all those things, right? Because you could get 100 milligrams per package and it was acting like an edible and people were going crazy over them. They were making them taste really good. Like it was, you know what I mean? They're not tasting like lozenges, right? So they're smart. if you're, if you're trying to get around the loopholes and use the gray area, they're smart to do it. And so they won their case.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
Organogram and others have made these products contend that they are compliant. And in early January 2023, Health Canada sent a notice to producers highlighting their concerns with these types of products. Companies were told they had until May the 31st of 2023 to cease sales and distribution. Wonder it'll happen now.
Yeah, they even issued a public warning about it. They said that they have identified several edible cannabis products that are deemed incorrectly sold as cannabis extracts. Beware.
Yeah, well, and will others, go ahead and start producing those products again, or will they wait until after Health Canada makes another decision?
They will go and do it. They would be smart to go do it because they will make lots of money. They just pay off their CRA debts.
Right. Oh, I can hear the kitty knocking at the door.
Hi, kitty.
Yeah. The cat's at the door. I can hear it. It's cat, dog, animals, right? We always have animals. Animals are part of this program, right?
Yes, they are.
All right. Yeah. Here they go. Here comes the next story. This one comes to us from Global News. Loyalist becomes first college in Canada to receive a license for psilocybin research.
I like hearing that. It's not far from us, Belleville, Ontario.
No, it's only like a 45-minute drive.
Yeah, I went to for radio broadcasting there. It's a fantastic college. It's nice to hear that they're getting up with the times. Psilocybin mushrooms, more commonly known as magic mushrooms, are still a long way from being legalized in Canada, much like cannabis was in 2018.
However, the development clinical applications for psilocybin to help people suffering mental health issues such as depression, anxiety, post-PTSD, and are picking up speed. And Belleville Loyalist College has jumped into research, becoming the first college in Canada to receive a license from Health Canada to work with psilocybin.
This was a natural extension of our cannabis license, and it gave us the opportunity to make an impact in the research community in psychedelics, said Carly Kelly, Senior Manager of Applied Research and Innovation at the college.
But what does applied research at the college look like for students? They'll get to take part in and get credit for supporting real world research to help companies who are developing products.
Wow. Loyalist College labs will focus on two key pillars, safety and consistency. There's a very large gap in research that needs to be addressed, and we hope to play a part in that, Kelly says.
Safety and consistency are especially important with psilocybin, according to Kelly, because psychoactive chemicals are quite unstable, which makes it difficult to nail down doses for clinical use, she says.
That's an excellent point. College President Mark Kirkpatrick lauded the work that the college has done to get the natural product applied research program to where it is.
Yes, I think being the only college in Canada now to have a license to work with psilocybin is tremendous, and again, just demonstrates the leadership that our applied research group has. And this isn't the only one.
Right. As with any controlled substance, there's a laundry list of rules and regulations that must be followed in order to obtain the license and to keep the materials they're working with safe.
Yeah. We like to think of it that we have obviously met all the regulations and requirements with Health Canada. But being an academic institution, we go beyond that. So we're very secure in our position within safety and within the Controlled Drugs and Substances license, Kelly says.
I didn't. He did. Now that the license is official, Loyalist researchers will begin working with companies to see what they can discover as they can help open minds to what this medicine can do.
Yeah. Loyalist College, what can I say?
Yeah.
They were the first company or first college in 2017 to get a cannabis research license.
Yeah.
And then they were the first college in Canada to have a program on science of cannabis. Now they are the first college in Canada to have a license to research psilocybin. That's 3 firsts.
It's brilliant.
Loyalist College has been opening
with our sponsor, Legacy 420, and they do direct work with Legacy 420. And they've asked questions. They
I've seen them.
care. They want to know what's happening with Tim. They've talked to Tim out there, and I
Yeah.
think they've made those connections. They're a wonderful college.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, they've been doing good. I was there
Good
in
to hear.
June to watch my daughter graduate from nursing school.
They're a great college.
Yeah. All right, on to the next article. Marijuana Moment says Federal Health Agency awards $3.2 million grant to study impact of marijuana on cancer immunotherapy treatment. I know.
I know I'm not gonna try it. The
You're
federal
gonna.
health
I'm sure we're gonna get it during the article.
the federal health agency is awarding researchers $3.2 million to study the effects of using cannabis while receiving immunotherapy for cancer treatment, as well as whether access to cannabis helps reduce health disparities.
The University of Buffalo announced that one of its psychiatrists has received the research grant funding from the National Institutes of Health's National Cancer Institute, which will go towards a year-long study to assess how the common cancer treatment is affected by patients using cannabis.
UB will be partnering Thomas Jefferson University and Oregon Health and Science University to carry out the study at 3 different sites, each recruiting 450 cancer patients who are being treated with immunotherapy, which carries fewer side effects than chemotherapy and is meant to boost the body's natural defenses, protecting healthy cells.
According to UB, about 40% of cancer patients report using cannabis as a treatment option to reduce pain, improve mood, and help them sleep. Yet there are virtually no long-term studies evaluating its potential benefits and harms for persons treated with immunotherapy for cancer, despite cancer and its treatments being qualifying conditions in most of the 37 states in Washington, D.C. that have legalized adult use or medical use. Principal investigator Rebecca Asher said in a press release on Tuesday.
While the anti-inflammatory properties of certain cannabinoids is typically a good thing, particularly when it comes to reducing pain, that effect can also suppress immune function.
There are concerns that cannabis might reduce the efficacy of immunotherapy. Asher says the demand for evidence is clear, and this project represents an important first step in that process as both immunotherapy and cannabis use are becoming more widespread therapeutic options in oncology, accepted by many patients and physicians.
For the observational study, half of the participants will be cannabis consumers who will use their own products, and the other half will be non-users. Researchers will examine medical records, patient outcomes, and blood samples at 6 different times over a 1-year period.
The NCI grant will also be used to study the role of neighborhood disadvantage on outcomes related to cannabis use in immunotherapy. We want to see if access to cannabis reduces health disparities, Asher says. We have a strong multidisciplinary team with expertise in cancer symptom management, medical cannabis, health equality, oncology, immunotherapy, I'll get these words out, immunology, and substance misuse. Overall, this research will have a sustained impact on the science of cancer symptom management and ultimately improve patient care and safety.
Wow. And NCI officials spoke about the agency's interest in promoting research into the relationship between cannabis and cancer treatment at a National Academies of Science, Engineering, and Medicine meeting last month. He said that while most oncologists have spoken with patients about cannabis, relatively few report being sufficiently knowledgeable about the topic.
NCI also outlines areas of cannabis research into the issue that the agency is interested in funding in a notice published last year. Meanwhile, a recent study found that consistent cannabis use is associated with improved cognition and reduced pain among cancer patients and people receiving chemotherapy.
And the American Medical Association also published research late last year that connected state cannabis legalization with reduced opioid prescribing for certain cancer patients. All of those are really big points. That's progress.
Yeah. And I hope that we find the follow-up article to that.
I was thinking
See how
that too. A
because
year
they
from
talk.
now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. I'll be looking forward to that to see if the person's if there's an improvement, being that people are using their own cannabis, but it'd
Right.
be interesting to see if they can find some cannabis that actually improves the immune system along with this treatment. So.
Yep.
All right, on to the next one. This one comes to us from CTV News. 5 years after cannabis legalization, 64% of Canadians are in support of the move.
It's been 5 years since the legalization of cannabis in Canada, and a new study finds that most Canadians are supportive of the move, but few agree with legalizing other drugs.
Yeah, in a new online survey conducted by Research Co., it has found that 64% of Canadians are in support of cannabis legalization, which has been in effect since October of 2018. They say that according to Mario Cansico, president of the research company, support for the legalization of cannabis is highest among Canadians aged 55 and older. 55 and older has got the highest support for cannabis.
Wow.
Imagine that, eh? The proportions are lower among those aged 35 to 54, which is only at 56%. And those aged 18 to 34 is only 48%.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Based on survey data, 58% of Canadians think employers should have the option to administer drug tests to any employee. The survey also found that 7 in 10 of Canadians are in support of the federal government pardoning those who had been previously convicted of having cannabis for personal use with no plan to sell it.
That'd be simple possession things that they should have just written right off.
Should have.
Yeah. Ontarians were found to be the most in support of pardons at 72%, followed closely by 71% of residents in Saskatchewan and Manitoba, 70% in Alberta, 68% in Quebec, and 65% in Atlantic Canada and BC. At the same time, few Canadians are in support of legalization of other substances.
For example, only 12% of Canadians believe ecstasy and powder cocaine should be legalized. 10% think it's time to legalize heroin, crack cocaine, and 9% think methamphetamine or crystal meth or fentanyl should be made legal.
The survey also found that 53% of Canadians say they have never consumed cannabis in the country. But for those who have used it, 48% state that all their cannabis products were purchased in a licensed retailer, and 17% said they have never bought it from a licensed retailer.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting survey.
I wasn't surprised by the people that were against the hard drug end of things. You got to remember, one time cannabis had really bad, had really low numbers, and things changed over time.
Right.
And you got to think at one time psilocybin was in that category of don't touch drugs, magic mushrooms, and now look at it all. LSD, the same thing.
Yeah, don't touch them, but now it's touch them.
Yeah.
They're good for you.
Yeah. All right, on to the next story from StratCan. Headline says Canadian producers still sitting on more than 1 million kilograms of dried cannabis.
That's a big bag of weed right there. My goodness. Edible sales continue to grow with a spike in sales each December, and cannabis extracts have seen the most significant increase in sales, nearly doubling in the past year, while packaged units of dried cannabis have been holding steady at just under 10,000 units a month.
As of March 2023, federal licensed cannabis producers in Canada listed 1,249,755 kilograms of unpackaged cannabis in the inventory, along with 92,590 kilograms of packaged inventory, while the provincial distributors and retailers had another 55,935 kilograms for a total of 1,394,280 kilograms of dried cannabis.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah, and don't forget, if you're old school like me, there's 2.2 pounds in a kilogram.
Yeah, I don't even want to try cannabis that's going to be that old, dried and packaged. The total unpackaged inventory first surpassed 1 million kilograms in September 2020, fluctuating slightly, and it has not dropped below 1 million kilograms since September 2021. The total peaked in January 2023 at 1,300,000, just that, before declining somewhat in February and then going again in March. And you've got a graph here just
Yeah.
showing all of that.
Look at it. It's steady up, up, up. Packaged inventory in the provinces has also declined since a peak in December 2022 at 80,000, dropping to almost 54,000 in January and then increasing slowly over the next 2 months. Dried cannabis packaged sales have hovered between about 8,000 and 9,000 since July 2021, with more than 264,000 sold on the medical side.
Right. Package production of cannabis edibles was 4.9 million in March 2023. Package inventory with federal license holders was 11.1 million, while provinces had 8.2 million, just over 3.9 million units sold in March of 2023. Another 304,000 on the medical side. Woo.
Oof. Cannabis extracts have increased significantly since first reaching the market in late 2019. As of March 2023, there were more than 5.7 million packaged units of cannabis extracts in production, with 9.5 in packaged inventory at federal license holders and another 9.5 million in distributors and retailers. Well, that's concentrates.
Mm-hmm. Just over 4.3 million units were sold in 2023, bless you, in the non-medical sales channels, while more than 313,000 were sold on the medical side. Inventories at federal license holders peaked at more than 10.7 million units in June of 2022.
See the graph, eh? Everything's just going up.
Up.
The number of units of cannabis, topicals and packaged inventory at federal license holders was nearly 291. Gee, there's no thousands on there. In March of 2023, down from a peak of more than 338,000 in October 2021. The total with distributors and retailers in March of 23 was over 165,000, down from the peak of more than 286,000. Either they missed 1,000 or 100 or something underneath that, behind that 291, or they just, there's nothing in stock.
I think that's missing. Cannabis plants in packaged production in March 2023 with federal license holders was 119, with another 136 with distributors or retailers. There were 4,525 cannabis plants sold in the medical stream in 2023, and 757 sold in the non-medical stream in that month. So they're selling the plants, Al.
Plants.
Where are they getting them?
Where are they getting them?
We want to know.
Not that I'm looking for any, but it's just the fact that they're selling them, just to see that they're selling them. So, federal license holders listed over 35,000 seeds in packaged inventory in March of 2023, while distributors and retailers listed nearly 66,000. There were only 52 units sold on the medical side, 11.6 million sold on the non-medical side that month.
Wow.
Look at that. Only 50.
That's a big number. 11 million seeds sold on the non-medical side. That's huge.
Well, you got to look at it. Yeah. And that's March. So that's just before, people are just starting to get their plants going. So everybody's getting ready for the outdoor grow season at that time. Yeah.
So they've stopped ordering them medically then, it would appear, and just going to the stores maybe, because 52 medical units sold, 52 in comparison to 11 million.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. The total licensed area for indoor cannabis cultivation was 1.5 square meters in March of 2023, down from a peak of 2.2 in May of 2020. Total processing area was more than 365,000 square meters in March of this year, down from a peak of more than 526,000. Approved outdoor cultivation was 587 hectares in March 23, down from a peak of 713. That just shows you all those licensed producers, and they've been shutting down. Yeah.
Yep. They're falling down.
They're shutting down, closing up shop. So there's less spots out there.
That's right.
So, all right. Well, hey, we are halfway through. We are ready to go to break. What do you say?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. It's break time. Time to medicate. Kelly and I are right back after our medical session. You're watching Psychedelics and Cannabis Educational News here at Pace Radio Network and CBGTV.com.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
When you have a pain that's reached its peak, Legacy for 20, it's so unique. If organic cannabis is what you seek, here's your trusted partners 7 days a week. Suppository salves, vapes and drops, topicals, edibles, infused pop. Just when life seems like it ain't easy, at Legacy 420, enjoy a pop freezy. Lab tested products, make them the GOAT. Legacy 420 out on your road. Legacy 420 in Tyndonega Mohawk territory. Indigenous organic cannabis at its finest.
Let's share PACE everywhere. That way it can help create peace. People everywhere advocating cannabis education.
Are you looking to get your medical cannabis grow license? Limestone City Hydroponics can help patients through the process of obtaining their license to grow medical cannabis. What's that? You don't have a doctor. If you meet the medical criteria, Limestone City Hydroponics has a nurse practitioner who can assess and provide medical cannabis prescriptions. What are you waiting for? Contact Limestone City Hydroponics at limestonecityhydroponics.ca or call them at 613-548-0420.
Enjoy the buzz of legalization with Campbellford Lifestyle Shop. From lights to plant nutrients, books, consumption accessories, and more, we've got all your basics to grow or consume cannabis. Visit our info center or take a look at our piercing services and body jewelry, now available in-store through Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, 17 Bridge Street West, Campbellford.
PACE Radio is the People Advocating Cannabis Education Radio Network.
Limestone City Hydroponics is Kingston, Ontario's hydroponics shop. Take your growing to the next level and create the optimal environment with a tent kit, or maximize your yield with an ebb and flow flood table kit. Either way, Limestone City Hydroponics has more sizes and options to fit your needs. Are you looking for the power of the sun that adapts to your budget? Then look no further, as they have professional grow lighting. They have indoor grow systems that are easy and cost effective, with many options to fit your living space and lifestyle. Cultivate your growing potential. We have everything you need to succeed. And if you can't make it to the store, they offer local delivery to the greater Kingston area. Remember, when you're looking for experts to help you grow, then look no further than the locally owned Limestone City Hydroponics, 105 Sunderland Drive in Kingston, Ontario. Call them at 613-548-0420.
We are people advocating cannabis education here at paceradio.net.
And we're back from our medication session. I should let you know, Rev Kelly, that I was able to get the kitty in. And just as we were about to come back from the commercial break, the dog wants out.
Okay. Okay, great. Test,
hold
on.
I will get you started and then I'll break back.
Okay.
Here we go. Headline says from High Times, survey 65% were willing to use cannabis under guidance of a clinician.
Survey says it was released this week by the cannabis wellness company EO Care, and it found that 18% of respondents have used cannabis for health reasons in the past year. 19% have used cannabis for recreational reasons, and 14% have used it for both. It's also revealed that the top 3 reasons for their cannabis use are anxiety, pain, and sleep. 88% of medical cannabis users say it reduced their use of prescription drugs, alcohol, or both, and that 51% said they would be likely or very likely to use cannabis if they were offered by their health plan.
Ooh.
But perhaps most notable was the finding that 65% of respondents said they would feel more comfortable using cannabis if it were screened and dosed by a clinician.
Sean Collins, a co-founder and CEO of EO Care, said that the survey highlights the need for readily available medical advice on cannabis treatment. Finding clinical guidance for medical cannabis is difficult because most doctors lack the knowledge and retail dispensaries are not equipped to promote medical advice, Collins says in a press release. As a result, we have tens of millions of Americans using cannabis for health reasons without guidance on specific product recommendations, dosage amounts, possible drug interactions, or consideration for the health history and other potential health risks. Given that sales of cannabis for health reasons is far higher than most prescription drugs, this is a highly concerning situation for healthcare generally.
EO Care said that the survey was based on responses of just over 1,000 Americans who are employed or at least part-time, were from the United States, where cannabis is legal for medical and or recreational use.
Collins also added that 94% of Americans live in a state where cannabis is legal in some form. And we know a large percentage of Americans have used cannabis in the past year. So this is definitely impacting employees and health outcomes. With the right medical cannabis guidance, employers have an opportunity to help their employees improve health outcomes and be progressive leaders in offering this important benefit that employees will come to expect.
Right. 38 states have legalized some form of medical cannabis treatment, and polls routinely show that broad swaths of the country are in favor of making it legally available. That trend holds true even if states where cannabis remains illegal. A poll released earlier this year found that 76% of adults in South Carolina are in favor of legal medical cannabis. Both recreational and medical cannabis are illegal in that state.
Well, they need to change that, obviously. Last year, a survey from the Pew Research Center showed that an overwhelming share of U.S. adults, that's 88%, say either that cannabis should be legal for medical and recreational use by adults, and 59%, or that it should be legal for medical use only at 30%. 88% of U.S. adults.
Big percentage.
Yeah. Wow.
With a growing number of states authorizing the use of cannabis, the public continues to broadly favor legalization of cannabis for medical and recreational purposes. Over the long term, there have been a steep rise in public support for cannabis legalization, as measured by a separate Gallup survey question that asks whether the use of cannabis should be made legal without specifying whether it would be legalized for recreational or medical use. This year, 68% of adults say cannabis should be legal, matching the record high support for legalization Gallup found in 2021. Pew 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 wrote in its analysis.
There continue to be sizable age and partisan differences in Americans' views about cannabis, while very small shares of adults of any age are completely opposed to legalization of cannabis. Older adults are far less likely than younger ones to favor legalizing for its recreational purposes. And that's the complete opposite that we just read in the Canadian version.
Right. Interesting. Very interesting. The survey from EO Care, which was released on Tuesday, also found that 56% of respondents said that they would be more likely to take a job at a company whose health plan offered cannabis care, and that 44% would reconsider applying for a job at the company that tested for prior use of cannabis use or prohibited cannabis outside of the workplace.
EO Care bills itself as the first clinically guided cannabis health and wellness solution for employers, saying that its digital health service gives HR and benefits leaders the necessary tools to help employees determine if cannabis should be part of their healthcare journey or not by providing clinical education and personalized care guidance, including cannabis overuse, which is increasingly common given the lack of medical guidance.
Saying built on data from leading cannabis clinicians and researchers, EO Care provides clinical guidance and proprietary data models to help employers tackle unguided cannabis use and give employees an effective option for relief in cancer treatment, pain management, opiate replacement, anxiety, and sleep management. The company is led by a team of experts in CX healthcare, biotech, and data intelligence. So they're
There
actually
you
on
go.
the side for the employee. They're fighting for the guys. Remember last week we did a story about police officers not being able to use cannabis and their
Yeah.
union was fighting. That's what it seems these EO care guys have come on to help the guys fight that want to be able to use cannabis as medicine at work.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
hope they help the
Yeah.
kids too, because kids need
Yeah.
cannabis too when they're as their medicine, as we know. And so
Mhm.
there's schools that are saying absolutely not. You cannot have that here. So I hope that there's something that these guys can do or somebody can do.
Yeah. Yeah. Fingers crossed. All right, on to the next story. This one comes to us from MJ Biz Daily. Headline says recreational cannabis stores coming to Switzerland as part of an experiment. All right, Switzerland.
Yeah, that's a good experiment. Germany-based Sanity Group is teaming up with the Swiss Institute for Addiction and Health Research to open 2 legal recreational cannabis stores in Switzerland as part of the country's pilot study into dispensing cannabis.
Overall, the Sanity Group ISGF pilot project is the 6th that has been given the green light. But unlike the other Swiss projects, which will dispense cannabis via pharmacies or clubs, the Sanity Group project will use stores as a point of sale.
The project's first retail outlet will be set up in the municipality of Allschwil later this year, and another location will follow in Limestone. In May 2021, the amendment to Switzerland's Federal Narcotics Act came into force, allowing pilot trials involving the dispensing of recreational cannabis.
ISGF and Sanity Group said they received final approval from the Federal Office of Public Health to conduct the cannabis pilot study. That followed approval from the Ethics Committee, Northwest and Central Switzerland last year.
In a news release, Sanity Group said the aim of the study is to learn more about regulated access to cannabis and provide a scientific basis for possible approaches to future cannabis regulation in the country.
The study will examine the regulated sale of cannabis for non-medical purposes. It will be led by Michael Schwab, the ISGF's scientific director.
Now, the Swiss government said that the scientific pilot trials are designed to provide insights into different areas here, one being the physical and mental health of consumers, plus their performance and productivity.
Consumption patterns, social economic aspects, the drug market in a specific geographic area, youth protection, and public safety to round them out.
Now, the insights gained from the study can contribute to an informed health policy discussion on the responsible use of cannabis and serve as a basis for decisions on long-term regulation. That comes from Schwab in a statement.
Yeah, in addition, we want to investigate whether we can gain better access to high-risk users with, for example, mental health problems in order to refer them to the appropriate cantonal care centers.
Sanity Group said up to just under 4,000 consumers in the area of Basel Landschaft will be able to participate in the study. Participants will undergo a medical aptitude test to potential gain admission to the study.
The participants will be required to undergo surveys to monitor their consumption behavior. Physical and mental health surveys will take place every 3 to 6 months, and the study is scheduled to begin in the 4th quarter of 2023 and will run for 5 years.
Very cool. Very cool.
And it does, it is saying in order to create retail stores. It's a Sanity Group. It is, yeah. I just found that. Yeah, it's right.
And it makes me want to travel to Switzerland. Now I'm like, okay, well, there's somewhere I could go on vacation because I could get cannabis there.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. Yeah. 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 All right, on to our next story. And this is one of those stories where cannabis is helping those who need help. And that is the money from Kansas City's cannabis tax helps expand winter weather response.
I love hearing this. It's tax money from taxes on cannabis, and it's helping people without permanent homes survive in Kansas City winter.
Members of the City Council approved a plan Thursday to appropriate $500,000 raised by the tax to help fund the city's extreme weather program. Affordable housing and fighting homelessness is one of the 3 pillars leaders said the money would be used for when voters passed the tax last year.
I love that. The program provides funding that allows
Yeah.
the housing department to work with 8 shelters and 16 other organizations to shelter transport and provide other services to the houseless population in Kansas City. I hope every politician in our country is listening to this story right now.
Yeah. Yeah. Giving
Brilliant
back to the
idea.
community. Yeah.
Yes.
Beginning November the 1st, the city plan calls for shelters to extend the hours guests are allowed to stay when the temperatures drop below 32 degrees. The shelters expect to begin seeing a larger number of people seeking shelter as it gets colder outside.
The KCATA will provide free transportation to and from shelter locations beginning December 1st. Kansas City's Public Works Department will also provide free warming bus with social workers on board during certain times over the winter months to help people get services available to them. Wow.
Yeah, a street outreach effort will also make the rounds to known encampments to help provide coats, gloves, blankets, and other supplies to people who stay outside instead of spending nights at a shelter. Kansas City's extreme weather plan to address houselessness also includes providing mental health support, medical care, and transitional living support to help as many people move into stable housing.
This is amazing. They talk about these cards that they're getting, fountain cards expected to help people struggling to find permanent housing. It's like an ID card. It sounds just amazing how this money is just going right back
Yeah,
into helping the community like that. $500,000 of
yeah,
taxes
yeah,
collected from cannabis.
yeah, yeah, exactly. That's,
Wow. Wow. I want to take
yeah,
that to
it's
every
good.
counselor I know in my area. Say, hey, can we do this
Hey,
up here?
well, yeah, instead of it just going into a slush fund and being spent on whatever,
Yeah.
this is
This
going to
goes to the
help
people.
people, in a good way.
Yes.
Yeah, it reminds me of a post I saw this morning on Facebook, with Canowitch, looking for donations to help people.
Yes, they are the canon witches. Bless their hearts.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. All righty, next story here, and this one comes to us from the Montreal Gazette. Police seize more than 370 kilos of cannabis in Montreal and Laval.
3 people were arrested. Police have seized 370 kilograms of cannabis. It was grown indoors after carrying out search warrants on Thursday in Montreal, Laval, and another French place that I can't pronounce. But they don't have permission to grow there at all, Al.
No,
Like
they
none.
don't.
They're in big
None. They
trouble.
don't. And they can't even go to the Supreme Court of Canada because
Nope.
they already ruled on this.
Yep.
The warrants were carried out by the Sûreté de Quebec, Montreal Police, Laval Police, and several other municipal police forces. The SQ said in a statement on Friday. Besides the large quantity of processed buds, police also seized 2,700 cannabis plants, $13,000 in Canadian cash, 2 vehicles, and equipment used for indoor growing.
And a man and 2 women in their 40s and 50s were arrested. They were released. But that's a big chunk of cannabis that's gone from Quebec right now, and they're
Yeah.
so stringent, right? So their black market is really like it's lucrative for people working in the black market in Quebec.
Yeah.
But I imagine this is going to be a big hit for them because that's a lot of
That's a lot of cannabis.
cannabis.
A lot of cannabis.
Yeah, grown inside.
Yes. All right. Oh, we got to close an ad. Ad pops up there. All righty. Let's get on to our last story of the day. We're just flying through these stories right now.
Today.
Yeah. Must be the buzz. No. All right. Here we go. This one's coming to us from Marijuana Moment. Oh, there we go. There's the buzz. This just threw all that off. Al hit the close button instead of hitting the share button. All right. Here we go. Marijuana Moment says cannabis companies sue the Attorney General to block enforcement of unconstitutional federal prohibition. All right.
That's right. It's a coalition of cannabis businesses represented by an influential law firm, and they have filed a much anticipated lawsuit against the U.S. Attorney General seeking to block the federal government from enforcing cannabis prohibition against their state legal activity.
They claim prohibition in state markets is unconstitutional, creating undue public safety risks while precluding licensed cannabis businesses from accessing critical financial services and tax deductions that are available to other industries.
And the lawsuit was filed in the U.S. District Court for the District of Massachusetts, a Western Division, by multi-state operator Verando Holding Corporation and the Massachusetts-based cannabis businesses Cannaprovisions and Wiseacre Farm, along with Trevitt CEO Gyasa Sellers.
Press release says that SN Wellness Holdings, TerraSen, Green Thumb Industries, Eminis Capital, Poseidon Investment Management are foundational supporters of the suit.
And the law firm Boyce, Schiller, Flexner, Lesser, Newman, Aleo, Naplin, LLP are representing the plaintiffs. David Boyce, chairman of the former firm, has a long list of prior claims that include the Justice Department, former Vice President Al Gore, and the plaintiffs in a case that led to the invalidation of California's ban on same-sex marriage, among others.
The lawsuit alleges that while Congress originally banned cannabis through the Controlled Substances Act in an attempt to eradicate interstate commerce, ostensibly giving government a basis to enforce prohibition at the state level. Lawmakers and the executive branch have since abandoned that mission as more states have enacted legalization.
Saying despite these changes, the federal criminal prohibition on intrastate cannabis remains in place as an unjustified vestige of a long abandoned policy. That's the complaint filed on Thursday, stating that the unjustified intrusion of federal power harms plaintiffs, threatens the communities they serve, and lacks any rational purpose. Woo-hoo.
There are repeated mentions of the fact that while the federal government has taken a largely hands-off approach to cannabis in recent decades, state licensed cannabis businesses continue to suffer financial burdens, including a lack of access to banking services, credit cards, and federal tax deductions under an Internal Revenue Services code known as 280E.
Yeah, hear ye. Without access to credit cards or online payments, state-regulated cannabis businesses must rely heavily on cash, creating serious public safety risks. State-regulated cannabis dispensaries have become targets of robberies, the lawsuit says. These collateral harms increase the costs of state-regulated cannabis businesses and reduce participation in state-regulated cannabis markets. As a result, there is less innovation and less consumer choice. Bravo!
Yeah. The existing ban on cannabis under the CSA results in an unconstitutional imposition on state sovereignty, the attorneys say. While Congress has authority to ban cannabis from interstate commerce, it has no general police power over cannabis grown, transported, or distributed in interstate commerce. Neither the Commerce Clause nor the necessary and proper clause of the Constitution permits this outreach by Congress.
The lawsuit takes a look at the history of cannabis laws in the country, pointing out that prohibition is a relatively recent policy position that followed more than 100 years of permitted use and cultivation to some extent. It then returns to the federal government's justification for banned cannabis under the CSA, which was to prevent interstate commerce, as was argued in the 2005 U.S. Supreme Court case, Gonzalez versus Raich, concerning medical cannabis access for California patients.
That justification no longer rationally applies, the companies argue. Not only has Congress annually renewed an appropriations rider barring the Justice Department from using federal funds to intervene in state medical cannabis programs, but Attorney General over the course of multiple administrations have spoken to their lack of interest in criminalizing people over cannabis-related activities that's sanctioned by the states.
Saying what was once a single-minded federal crusade against the cannabis plant has been replaced with an ambivalent set of inconsistent policies, some aimed at reducing federal interference with state efforts to regulate cannabis. That's coming from the suit.
Yeah. In short, the federal government has long ago abandoned the goal of eliminating cannabis from commerce, nor does Congress have any comprehensive or even consistent and rational approach to cannabis regulation. It continues. This inconsistent patchwork approach to cannabis regulation provides no basis for Congress to regulate interstate cannabis.
That point echoes what conservative Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas said in 2021, criticizing the contradictory and unstable state federal cannabis policy conflicts that have compounded as the federal government continues to take a half-in, half-out approach to the issues.
Attorneys for the plaintiffs said that without court intervention, the CSA will continue to undermine state efforts to create safe and regulated interstate markets for cannabis, as long as the CSA continues to prohibit interstate cultivation, manufacture, possession, and distribution of cannabis. Plaintiffs and the communities they serve will suffer irreparable harm.
Ooh. There's also a mention in the lawsuit of the impact of the current policy of criminalization on low-income communities, noting that the ban on interstate cannabis commerce means that cannabis products cannot be delivered to public housing facilities in Massachusetts.
This prohibition is to the deterrent of the states, their citizens, and plaintiffs. Not only do plaintiffs face the potential risk of enforcement, the businesses also face numerous hurdles that result directly from CSA's treatment of interstate cannabis.
The consequences of this prohibition are devastating for the industry, particularly for small businesses that cannot rely on diversification or economics of scale, it continues.
Josh Schriller, a partner at Boyce Schriller Flexner law firm that is representing the plaintiffs, said during an X Spaces session on Thursday that our clients have finally decided we can still look around the corner and hope that there is legislative solution, but let's decide whether or not we can create a permanent change by going to the courts, adding that the Supreme Court ideological dynamics have shifted towards a federalist point of view in the way that could bolster their case.
The court is looking to enforce the constitutional protections for states to regulate commerce within the state, which is called intrastate commerce. He said there is no right of the federal government under the Constitution to regulate intrastate commerce.
But we've built a lawsuit that will hope to get back to the Supreme Court as quickly as possible, Skriller added. The factual evidence that we offer in our complaint, which will be supported by testimony on a summary judgment motion, which we hope to get to probably not this year, but hopefully next year, will be the basis for going to the Supreme Court and demonstrating this evidence that negates any legitimacy that the federal government has in continuing to treat cannabis as a federal crime. Yay.
He also briefly previewed plans to pursue future litigation as a second step to help cannabis businesses recoup losses they've incurred due to the inequality that they've suffered for years if they're successful in the current case.
But this case is meant to create a new precedent that allows the state and only the states to let their businesses flourish under their regulations, he says. The lawsuit comes as the DEA carries out a review into the cannabis scheduling after the U.S. Department of Health Services recommended moving it from Schedule 1 to Schedule 3 under the CSA. Such rescheduling could resolve certain tax rate-related issues for the industry under 280E, but it would not legalize the plant or permit interstate commerce. Well, that's not any good.
Right. Quoted as saying the federal criminalization of safe, regulated cannabis commerce in states where it is legal unfairly burdens legal operations and expands the production and sale of illegal cannabis that is unregulated, can be unsafe, and is likely to find its way to other states. Boyce said in a press release on Thursday, federal criminalization also denies small legal cannabis businesses of access to SBA loans, investors, benefits for their employees, and normal banking regulations, which, among other things, forces them to rely on cash transactions with all of the dangers to them and to the community that result, as well as burdening them with discriminatory taxes.
Oh, yeah. Americans believe that cannabis should be legal and available subject to reasonable regulation by the states. 38 states have legalized some form of cannabis, he says. The federal government lacks authority to prohibit interstate cannabis commerce. Outdated precedents from decades ago no longer apply. The Supreme Court has since made clear that the federal government lacks the authority to regulate purely interstate commerce. Moreover, the facts are on which these precedents are based are no longer true.
Cannabis business executives first described plans to file the lawsuit challenging the constitutionality of enforcing criminalization of interstate cannabis activity under the CSA last year.
Yeah. Now, according to the CEO of Wellness Holdings, he says, I think the fact that one of the leading constitutional law firms in the United States is willing and eager to take this case speaks volumes to the seriousness of the action and the potential likelihood of success. He goes on saying that he hoped the legal challenge would prompt Congress to pass cannabis banking legislation and other reforms. Good luck.
Meanwhile, the federal government has also found itself in multiple federal courts over the past year in various parties challenging the ban preventing people who use cannabis from buying or possessing firearms, with some judges and one appeals court ruling that the policy is unconstitutional. So they're just looking for change any way they can get it over there, Al.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Well, this is forcing. This is forcing it, just like we had to do here in Canada.
Yeah.
Not waiting for the government to force it in the courts.
It's just like what they're saying. They're forcing to use cash. Their employees can't have different practices. It's terrible.
It is. It's not right. Exactly. Well, you got anything new and exciting you got to say?
I just want to say that we mentioned the Canna, which is collecting earlier. So find them on Facebook if you have donations. They're collecting for, I believe, the vulnerable population out in the Coburg area, Port Hope area. So tents and tarps. So find them on Facebook. You can find them through either of us. And
I also want to mention that catch Dr. High and the Hippie with the Cannabis Chronicles, Monday to Friday, 12 noon to 2 p.m. and they start here in an hour's time. Yeah. Oh yeah. We did an interview with them there on Friday. We had a great time.
It's exciting. I'm excited.
As they say, there's advocacy, there's education, and there's entertainment. Yeah. It's got a mix of everything in it. Okay. So it's gonna be good. Looking forward to it. So catch that here on CBG TV. As far as where they'll be located, cbgtv.com. Catch them on our Facebook wall and YouTube. So, other than that, from the legacy420.com news desk, that's our PACE news report for October the 30th. Last time I'll say that this year. And thanks to our buds at the Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, Limestone City, Hydroponics.ca, and legacy420.com. And in closing, we'd like to say thank you for watching. Plus, don't forget to educate, medicate, and do not incarcerate.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
The opinions of the individuals during this broadcast are their own, and may not be the opinions of their group or other organizations they may be involved with. All medical advice during our broadcast is not a medical opinion and should be checked with your medical physician.
When you have a pain that's reached its peak, Legacy for 20, it's so unique. If organic cannabis is what you seek, here's your trusted partner 7 days a week. Suppository salves, vapes and drops, topicals, edibles, infused pop. Just when life seems like it ain't easy, at Legacy 420, enjoy a pop freezy. Lab tested products, make them the GOAT. Legacy 420 out on your road. Legacy 420 in Tyndonega Mohawk territory. Indigenous organic cannabis at its finest.
Enjoy the buzz of legalization with Campbellford Lifestyle Shop. From lights to plant nutrients, books, consumption accessories, and more, we've got all your basics to grow or consume cannabis. Visit our info center or take a look at our piercing services and body jewelry, now available in-store through Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, 17 Bridge Street West, Campbellford.
Limestone City Hydroponics is Kingston, Ontario's hydroponics shop. Take your growing to the next level and create the optimal environment with a tent kit, or maximize your yield with an ebb and flow flood table kit. Either way, Limestone City Hydroponics has more sizes and options to fit your needs. Are you looking for the power of the sun that adapts to your budget? Then look no further, as they have professional grow lighting. They have indoor grow systems that are easy and cost effective, with many options to fit your living space and lifestyle. Cultivate your growing potential. We have everything you need to succeed. And if you can't make it to the store, they offer local delivery to the greater Kingston area. Remember, when you're looking for experts to help you grow, then look no further than the locally owned Limestone City Hydroponics, 105 Sunderland Drive in Kingston, Ontario. Call them at 613-548-0420.
We are people advocating cannabis education here at paceradio.net.